everyone, and welcome back to the ChromaticKnits podcast. My name is Michelle, and this is my place on the internet where I talk about all of my yarny adventures. You can find me on Instagram as chromatic_knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as ChromaticKnits. I'm so glad to be back. Today is July 2nd, 2023. Can't believe it's July already. Where did the time go? It's been a couple weeks since I've been on here because I spent part of last week in Florida visiting my family, so which is always lovely, going to Florida, visiting family, visiting extended family, and I even made it to a yarn store while I was down there, so it was very nice. Got some knitting time in, which was nice. I was just able to just relax and go swim in the pool and hang out with my family. It was very chill. Loved it. Got a little bit of a tan, more of a burn than a tan, but we'll take what we can get. Hopefully the burn will turn into a tan. It's fine. the mid to northern German genes are strong. This one. We just burn. But while I was there, I came into contact with my new favorite obsession, which this is not a sponsored video. I'm not sponsored by it in any way, but I don't know if you've seen these. I had never seen these before. I'd always seen the ice drinks that were in the bottles, but I'd never seen the ones in the cans. And the ones in the cans are caffeinated, which is magic. And this flavor is watermelon lemonade, which I am obsessed with. 10 out of 10. It's hydrating and caffeinating in one. And it tastes lovely. So I got these at Walmart. I think they're like $1. So if you haven't tried them, definitely check them out. They come in all different flavors. There's like a citrus one and a blackberry one and a blue raspberry. There's a bunch of different flavors. This is my personal favorite, but I really like the other flavors too. So again, not sponsored, just obsessed. Put that off to the side so it doesn't spill all over the yarn. Okay. So when I went to Florida, I was really thinking, because in Florida it's much hotter, but it's a different type of hot than here. So it's actually hotter where I live than it is in Florida. In Arkansas, for whatever reason, because we live in this valley, we just get like really hot. We get that really what is the word I'm looking for? That really like strong heat. And it's not just heat, it's also like where it feels warmer than it is. It's crazy. But in Florida, you get that direct sun, which is a big difference too. So here it's just like muggy heat and just awful. And then in Florida, it's like straight heat, but it's also just like the sun is like pounding down on you heat, because they don't get a lot of clouds in Florida. Like it's just direct sunlight. And I was thinking, as I was sitting and I wasn't knitting as much as I normally would while I was down there, even though, like I said, it's hotter here, but down there the heat just stays with you longer than it does here for some reason, because of that sun that's just pounding down on you. So I was thinking of what are 5 ways that I know that in the summer, some people lose their knitting mojo because it's just hot. They just don't want to have something woolly in their hands or something big like a blanket that they're working on that's going to be on them, that's going to heat them up in the summer. They want to be cool, right? They want to, so it just makes it more difficult to work on things in the summer. So I was really thinking about, some tips and tricks for keeping your summer mojo and things that work for me, and alternatives that you can use in order to keep up your summer mojo, your summer knitting mojo, I should say. So one tip is look at the type of yarn that you're using. So what is it made out of? So if it's made out of an animal fiber, it's going to be much warmer than if it's a plant fiber. So maybe in the summer, switch to a plant fiber where, I don't want to work on something that's like alpaca or cashmere because my palms are going to sweat, right? Because it's hot, because it's summer. And that whatever I'm working on is, is that type of fiber that's just built for warmth. And warmth is not something that we need more of in the summer. It's just not. So definitely want to think about the type of fiber that you're using. Another tip that I have is work on smaller projects. So there are some things, we don't want to be working on in the summer, like blankets, which I have a few blankets that I'm working on, but that's beside the point. But sometimes, we just need to work on smaller projects in order to get that mojo back and just get that sense of completion that we don't get when we're working on a larger project. Like we just kind of lose that motivation because we're never getting that, we're not getting that final object, and we feel like we're putting in all this effort and we're not getting anything out of it because we still have so much left to do on an object. So, maybe knit some dishcloths, knit something smaller that's going to be, knit a hat, something that's going to take, maybe a couple of days, and then you're done and you have that completed item. So that's one way to get your mojo back. Another thing to think about is what kind of yarn are you using? When I'm saying not the content, but the weight of the yarn. So in the summer, it's not the best idea to work with bulky weight yarn, right? Bulky and chunky weight yarn. Because again, that's going to get on your palms and you're going to get sweaty palms and it's already hot and you don't want all that heat in the summer. So maybe in the summer, if you're going to use a worsted weight yarn, use a cotton yarn. Maybe if you're going to use a wool yarn or an animal fiber, maybe use a fingering weight where it's going to be a lot lighter. So maybe work on things like socks, or maybe work on things like a mitered square blanket. Something that's going to have a thinner gauge or a thinner weight to the yarn. Some other things to think about, I'm just referring to my list here, is the type of project that you're working on. So again, you just don't want those big, heavy blankets. Maybe work on something smaller. And then try, in the summer, if your knitting mojo is just zilch, I always find that it's really interesting to make what I call new swatches. So what that is when you learn something new, so maybe it's double knitting, maybe it's intarsia, maybe it's color work, maybe it's just a new skill that you don't necessarily want to do on it like a huge project like a sweater or a blanket, but it's something that you want to practice and something that you want to do on something small. So making little gauge swatches or little squares that you could join later and put into a blanket would be a great way to practice. And then that way you can say, okay, I did that. Look, I have this finished item and I learned something new. And it keeps you engaged because you're learning something along the way. So it's more of that process versus product knitter mindset for sure. Some people do that too when they take classes over the summer. That's another way to kind of get your mojo going, is to take a class and learn something new and make one of those little swatches, or just start a small project to practice whatever that new skill is. Maybe it's brioche, whatever it is. So just some hints and tricks for keeping up your knitting mojo during the summer. Some things that I was just thinking about while I was in Florida. And, I brought two projects with me. I brought a DK weight blanket, which was a bad idea. And I brought dishcloths. So I mostly worked on the dishcloths because, again, changing the fiber to cotton, changing the product to being a smaller project. And then it's just something that knits up a lot faster and something I didn't really have to think too much about. Which in the summer, it just like seems like a lot of effort. like because we're using so much brain power just like staying awake and not getting hot that like sometimes we just need a break. So just some things to think about. um But another thing while I was there was I discovered that my parents have a local yarn shop near them called A Bit O' Yarn. So I went there and I was able to look around, and I have some acquisitions that I'll show later. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this store before I get into my FOs and whips. So I'll insert a tour here of the store. So this store was is located in Englewood, Florida, which is a few minutes away from where my parents live. It's very small, but it has basically everything that you would think that you would want. Plus, it has a lot of the good like cotton and natural fiber yarns. Like I have never seen Noro cotton before, but they had that there. That was great. It would look lovely. Um, they had, tons of extra cotton yarns or linen, those types of yarns there. They also had woolly wools available too, because everybody loves those, and you'll see those when I show what I purchased and a little bit later. But just wanted to share a little bit about this store. The staff there was super lovely, super helpful, and showed me some things in the store that are exclusive to the store, and also that um, are things that people look for when they go to their local yarn store. So go check them out if you get a chance. Would highly recommend if you're ever in the Englewood, Florida area. Definitely would go check them out. And I'll be talking about them a little bit more later, but just wanted to put that tour in here. So, okay. So that is all about Florida. Also, I didn't get eaten by an alligator, which is fantastic. And I actually didn't see an alligator the whole time I was there, but I know that they are there, and I have seen pictures that my parents have sent me and that their friends have sent them of the alligators that live near them, because they have a bunch of ponds near where they live. And if you've ever been to Florida, you know anybody who's ever lived in Florida, you know that any body of water in Florida has gators in it. doesn't matter how small, anything bigger than a puddle has a gator in it in Florida. So you always just have to be careful. Oh my gosh. Like my parents have a friend who lives like in their community that they live in. So live like in a retirement community. It's called an active lifestyle community. It is a retirement community. Anyway, so their friend, oh my gosh, he went fishing in one of these ponds, and he got chased out by an alligator. Like he caught a fish and an alligator came out after him and like chased him out into the road, and he had to run, like he had to book it away from the alligator. And I was like, dang. And then he went back fishing. Like, what? I was like, have we heard of Darwinism? Like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, go out in the ocean and fish. Like, why do you have to fish right here? And he rides his bicycle to this fishing hole. So, like, he leaves his bike and, like, the gator's between him and the bike, so he can't get away. I'm like, oh my god. And he's an older gentleman. I'm like, like you're just asking for it. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of the group Arrogant Worms. If you haven't heard of them, stop watching this and look up Rippy the Gator by Arrogant Worms. It's this song about this kid that keeps going into the water and an alligator keeps like chewing off parts of him. It's really funny. Would highly recommend. Also, Arrogant Worms is hysterical. They're a comedy music troupe group that's from Canada. And a lot of, so like, if you look them up, a lot of their stuff is about Canada. Um, but some of their stuff is just really funny. Like Rippy the Gator. I don't know. The whole time my dad was telling me that story, I just had that song going through my head, and I was like, he better like practice his cardio because alligators are fast. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen an alligator in the wild, but like they're fast. They're fast in the water, and like they can run on land. Like, they are fast predators. And some of the alligators in those ponds by my parents are like 10 feet long or bigger. I'm like, no. I already told my parents, I was like, I will not be walking around where you live. That is a no go. Like, I will go in a vehicle, but I am not walking anywhere around where you live because they have like like alligators are moving from pond to pond because they have multiple ponds. I'm like, that is a no. That is a no from me. I'm like, forget it. I don't know. I can't even imagine like going fishing in a pond where there are definitely alligators. Like, it just blows my mind that anybody would be like, that's a good idea. And then they would go back after it chased, like, stop. Anyway, but this is not an alligator podcast. This is a knitting podcast. So let's get back to it, shall we? So I have a couple of FOs to show you. So the first one, this has been a long-standing FO, and this is my second mitten advent calendar that I've worked on in the last couple years. But I have finished mitten number 12. Got a horse on it. So again, doing this in Knit Picks palette. And I've talked about this several times before. This is my second one of these advent calendars. I'm making one. I made one for my partner last year. I'm making one for myself this year. And then I'll be making another one for our friend. So there will eventually be 3 of these, but I'm just taking them one mitten at a time. But the pattern's on Ravelry. I don't know where else you can find it, but would highly recommend. They're really adorable. But they're a surprising amount of knitting, even though they're only like 10 grams ish, 10 to 15 grams depending on the mitten. So And then, like I said, when I was in Florida, I was like knitting dishcloths like crazy. So I've got a whole stack in here. Hold on. Got snagged on the yarn that's in the container, that's in the bag. Okay, so I finished all of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 dishcloths completed. This is using, again, Grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. You can also find it other places, like there are tutorials on YouTube for it. And several podcasters use this pattern, like Kay the Crazy Sock Lady, but she changes it. She doesn't do the eyelets. And I'm not sure exactly how she does it without doing the eyelets. Like, I'm not sure how she does the increases without doing the eyelets. Um, but she's another podcaster that does it. And then I have started another one. This is just worsted weight cotton yarn. Got this from I got this from like Michael's or Joann's. Um, the original one that I was using before was Raindrop, and then I have started using this colorway. Which is, if I can find it, I'll put it below. But it's all loops and threads. And just using a size. So I had to size down from what the pattern says to use because I have such a loose gauge. So this is a size 6 4mm needle that I'm using on this. And just cranking these out like crazy. And I have people that I'm planning on giving them to, so I'm just going to keep cranking them out. I do have the ends still to sew in on these, but like I said, they're just basic. So basically the pattern, because it's a free pattern, I can just tell you, is you just knit 2 and then you yarn over and then knit the rest of the way across. And you just keep doing that until you have 44 stitches across, and then you start decreasing. So it's just knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then knit the rest of the way across until you get down to 4 stitches, and then you just bind off. So it's pretty simple, pretty mindless. Would highly recommend if you just need like a mindless pattern, which is exactly what I needed the last week, because I was just visiting on vacation, just wanted to let my brain just kind of like chill and relax for a little bit. Just needed that time to just decompress, which is very, very nice. And I really enjoyed it. Plus, it was easy just to knit that when I was in the airport or when I was on the airplane, is where I knit like one of those. So, just something easy that I didn't really have to think about or look at a pattern. So, would highly recommend. It's a super popular pattern. What else? I have my. So, we're into whips now. I worked a little bit on my Coziest Memories blanket. Again, thinking about those lighter yarns. I knit well, I got my needle stuck in here. Okay. I can knit this one, which was a leftover from my slip extravaganza. And I knit excuse me. I think I knit this one last time, and then I added this one, which is a mix of like 3 different yarns. It's got this light purple color. Use the rest of that, use the gray, and then I had a lighter gray that I finished it out with because I ran out. But that's what this pattern is, right? It's just, I know some people are like, I must have a whole square that's one color, but really, this is just for me to use up my scraps. So that's what we're doing with this. So just working my way across on the 3rd row now. So we've got kind of a 3x4 situation happening. So it's coming along. I don't know what you do as far as like flipping it over when you get to the bigger section, I'm gonna have to look and see what other people did. But I just can't. I don't know if you just make smaller ones and then you join them together. I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out though. But that's coming along. Another just brainless one as well. The Coziest Memories blanket by Kemper Ray. And there are tons of tutorials of how to do it. But it's one of those ones that once you just set it up, you just go. You just go. You don't think about it. You just do it. And each one of those is only about 5 grams of knitting of yarn. So it's not a ton of knitting, but it's just enough to get that kind of like short term dopamine hit of I've completed something. And then talking about fingering weight projects, I did a little bit of work on my habitation throw. So this is a pattern by Helen Stewart. You can see where I was last time. Now I'm on the third. I just started the fourth color. This pattern is mostly garter stitch with some eyelet rows, which you can see when I kind of spread it out so you see them better when it's blocked. But so that's coming along. This is going to be for my cousin. So it's my second cousin's daughter. So whatever that is, third cousin, second cousin wants removed. I don't know. But that is who this is for. So hopefully this will be done by Christmas, but if it isn't, like, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. So gonna keep working on that. I'm using, again, this is a kit by Homespun House, Molly, of 40 minis. So usually the actual habitation throw is supposed to be for an advent, which is 24 minis, but she made it for 40 minis. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than what the original pattern called for. And then last time I had just started this project, but have done some work on the Melted Marl blanket by Stephen West. You can kind of see it has this chevron-y situation going on. And it's just like that exact same thing all the way across. So really enjoying this pattern. It's knitting up pretty slow because there's 300 and something stitches across, like 380 something stitches across, but we'll get there. So this is also a Christmas present. This is for one of my nieces, so I'm really trying to put more time into this just to make sure that it's going to get done on time. So, but I did get a couple of inches done on this one because I just cast it on last time. Okay. And again, with this one, I'm using Knit Picks Swish, and this is the Dusk colorway, and then the purple is the Eggplant colorway. So, this is a superwash, 100% fine superwash merino wool and a DK weight. So, and they do have their summer sale going on right now. It doesn't look like the discounts are as good as they were last summer, or they have been historically. Is anybody else seeing that, or is it just me? But I just remember the sales being like way better. But maybe they'll be maybe the sale I'm thinking of happens in July. I don't know. But I don't know. The stuff that I was looking at, I was like, everything that I'm looking for doesn't seem to really be on sale. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not looking at the right things, or maybe I'm looking at the wrong time. Not sure. But so I'll need to get more of that at some point, but not right now. And then I've had some things come in. So this is a fade, if you can see that through the plastic. These are 15 mini skeins. So altogether, it says 4.25 ounces, which is 120 grams of yarn. So I have some ideas for this. This is by Fiber Optic Yarns. Here's the label. You can see that. I got this on a D-stash. So, but really loved it because my favorite color is red. So I'm always down for red. And red and black, chef's kiss. Also on a D-stash, I got these 3 hypnotic yarns, which these must have been Yarnables, or they just bought them from Hypnotic Yarns. But I really liked all 3 of them, so I just purchased all of them. They kind of go together, kind of. They're kind of all bluish, purpley-ish color family. So really liking those. And Hypnotic Yarn is also the yarn dyer that does all the Yarnable subscriptions. So if you've ever seen anybody open one of those, I know that like the Crazy Sock Lady has an opening every year and those types of things, or every bit. So that's what Hypnotic Yarns comes from. And then let's see, what else do I have in this bag? I got my Homespun House minis. These are Patreon minis that she sends out. Really love the colors this month. So it has, what are these colors? Sunny Side Up, this one. And then I think this one is Wildflower. And I think this one is It's Okay to Be Alone. But very lovely. And then I have my yarn haul from A Bit O Yarn. So I got several things. The first thing I got was this, let's see, Oleo Gusto wool. This is a light worsted, 100% superwash merino, 306 yards per 100 grams. So it's very light worsted DK. I would argue bordering on DK. And really liked this color. This was an exclusive color to, or exclusive. So they're the only place that the only retail store that carries Gusto wool. So, really liked that. Plus, it was reasonably priced, $21 a skein. So normally we're thinking about $30 per 100 grams. So, and then I'd never heard of this brand before. Fiber MacGyver was new to me. And I saw this skein and just kept coming back to it. Love all the speckles, all the neons and bright colors. Fantastic. I'm definitely thinking socks for this. Definitely thinking socks for this. So, and let's see. This is an 80-20 fingering base. So 80% merino, 20% nylon fingering sock. This is their merino twist base, 400 yards per 100 grams. So love that. Always love finding new yarn dyers. And then I got some Noro. So this is a wool blend. So it's 50% silk, 25% wool, 25% polyamide, 200 grams. And it's Tsubame. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So I have an idea for this as well, but I haven't seen this color grouping before. So it's like purples and blues and greens with a little bit of brown in there. Really love this. They did have these as well in their cotton, Noro cotton, which I really loved, and I was really between the two, but I ended up getting this one instead. And then I also got this set of minis. So this is a bit of yarn. Let's see. Squishy Skein-It Chain by Anzula. This is the colorway Mermaid Lagoon. So gotta love a little bit of mermaid, right? Especially while you're in Florida, and that's the A Bit of Yarn logo and everything going on there. Love that. Each one of these is 20 grams. And they had a bunch of different colorways of these. So, but this is just the one that I kept coming back to. Gotta love it. This is Squishy Skein-Its by Ansula. And that's their logo there, if you can see that. And then they also had these a bit of yarn specific. They're little sheep progress keepers or stitch markers rather. So on the back it says a bit of yarn, and on the other side it has a sheep. So I really like those. Couldn't pass them up. So I had to get those as well. And they come in a pack. There's, let me see, 6 in here. So a pack of 6 for $11. Not bad. And they're all different and they're all really cute. So couldn't say no to that. And that is my haul for this week. So all together, with everything that came in, that's 1,010 grams. And I knit 279.93 grams, giving it positive of 730.07 grams. Now, I'm not going to have any yarn coming in for a long time. So we're just going to knit through that. That'll take me a month and a half max to get through 700 grams. So it'll be fine. It'll all get knit up, and I'm really excited to think about what kind of projects I'm going to do with it. And I've always wanted one of these. Like, I've seen the minis like this before, but I've never, like, I've seen them on podcasts where people have had them, but I've never seen them in real life until I went to this store. So when I saw this, I was like, I have to. 'Tis a requirement. But anyway, that is all I have for this week. I hope that your knitting mojo isn't going, but if it is, I hope those tips helped you today. And I hope that you are still out there knitting. I would love to hear all about your knitting down in the comments down below, and any other crafting that you are doing. Are there other crafts that you do during the summer that you like doing better than knitting during the summer? Let me know. And I hope that you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. I hope you stay cool, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye, everyone.